Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Everett, and I am the Artistic Director with the Southern Documentary Fund. And welcome to our 2024 SDF Production Grant Info Session number 1. We do some great things here at the Southern Doc Fund. We provide fiscal sponsorship. Our whole thing is supporting documentary filmmakers and documentary storytelling in the South. We provide fiscal sponsorship, mentorship. We do a rough cut screening series called Fresh Docs. We do a complete screening series called SDF Presents. We do the annual Southern Documentary Convening, which is a weekend documentary conference that we do every year. We just had our convening for this year last month in Durham, North Carolina. And then we also do this while we're all here for today is our production grants. So thank you guys for logging on today, joining me today. Let me just share my screen. Also, a quick question. How many people, who all came to the convening this year? Just put it in the chat box. Who all came to the convening? All right, Angela. Cool. And we're definitely getting some dates for next year's convening together now. The team is working on that, and we're looking forward to announcing those dates as well. And hopefully you can join us again next year. Let me share my screen and so we can get started. 1 second here. Great. 1 second. All right. Excellent. Let me see here. Folks, everyone can see my screen, right? Cool. All right. Can everyone see my screen? All right, excellent. Cool. So pretty much what we're going to do is kind of just go through this whole application process. And the thing is, the reason why I like this application, because we are using the documentary core application. This application is used by a lot of documentary organizations, such as us, I think Working Films, International Documentary Association, Sundance, Firelight. So many folks that are using the Doc Core app, and it really created, to simplify this whole process. I'm a filmmaker as well. I know the struggles and the the stress that goes behind doing these things. And so the documentary core app really was created to simplify the process. So in applying to our grant, you can actually take this grant and apply to others as well that are using the core app. So, not only, you can use what you're doing with us, you can use it, you can apply this information to these other grants that are out here as well. That's, I think, the good thing about it. But still a lot of work, and it's a process of putting it all together. But we want to give a huge thank you to the MacArthur Foundation with their generous support for this, for helping fund this grant, for this opportunity for documentary makers in the South to get funding they need to go towards production of their documentary projects. Also, with this, if you need any help in regards to you need any assistance in applying or an alternative method, please reach out to us, info@southerndocumentaryfund.org. What we fund, this project is for Southern makers. So we're looking at documentaries, shorts, features, docuseries, and experimental. Those are really the 4 type of film projects that we can fund with this grant. It could be a short, it can be a feature, it can be a docuseries, or it can be an experimental documentary film. Projects must be in production. You can't be in research and development. You can't be in post-production or distribution or engagement. You have to be in production with your project. And we'll talk about a little bit more of that as we look at the application. This year is kind of the same we did last year, selecting 5 films at $10,000 each. That's what the grant is for this year as well. Similar to last year, 5 projects, $10,000 each. Still the same Southern states. We are in the process of adding some more states. We won't be able to do that this year. I know next year it will definitely be a definite, but this year we're still at the same states: Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia. Also, applicants must be 18 years of age or older. Also got to have a social security number or a U.S. federal tax ID number. Also, applicants can't be enrolled in any type of film school or seeking funds for student projects. But if you have a special situation, a lot of times it may take a little longer to talk it out over, it'll take a little longer than this session we have today. Email me. I'm gonna put my email in this thing and we can talk about it because everyone's situation is different. Let me put my email in here. Email. If you have a special situation, definitely email me. Definitely email me. We can hop on the phone this week and talk about it. Everyone's situation is different. You never know your situation. You might be able to qualify. Cool. Well, how we look at the selection of projects, pretty much projects that fall within the scope of our mission and values. Primary team members, director, producer, have strong connection to the story. We really look at that. We really look at the connection to the story. Also, well-researched, clearly presented, a feasible budget, and a solid fundraising plan. And also, we look at, we just don't give out grants to veteran makers or middle of the road makers, people that have some experience or just first time. We look at it all. We try to be fair and balanced. We try to get a couple of first timers, a couple of veterans, a couple of, in the middle, experienced folks as well. So even if you are a first timer and you might not have, I've been a first time filmmaker, but what I did was when I was a first time filmmaker, I would try to align myself with some crew that had a little bit more experience as well, or get a producer that might have experience, or an executive producer, and some advisors that might, have more experience doing these type of projects. We look at all that. So just because you're a first time director of a project, don't let that scare you. You know what I'm saying? Always try to get other people that might have a little bit more experience. It makes your application look good as well. That what you got, even though you're a first timer, you got some experience on your team that's going to help with some of these things. And so definitely look to collaborate. Collaboration is always key. We talked about that at our convening last month about collaboration and collaborating in the South. Also understanding your audience and how to reach them as well. And also complete your application. Complete your application. Sometimes we get folks that forget to attach the work sample or whatever. Always complete the application all the way through because you will get dinged for that. You will get dinged for that. And like I said, this session is recorded, so you can always go back to them. I'm gonna go through this first part, and then I'm gonna stop to answer a couple of questions, and then I'll go back into the next part. And so after you kind of read all the requirements, eligibility, and all that good stuff, you're kind of going to start off with this, putting in the project title. Sometimes people forget that. So put a project title in, even if it changes down the road, don't worry about it. Put the title, put a tentative title in here, whatever title you have for your project. Also the project type. Like I said, we have these 4 categories. It can be a feature, it can be a short, it can be a series, or it can be experimental documentary. So just select one or the other. Also your experience level. Like I said, we look for it all. First time, emerging, and experienced. So whatever level stage you are, check mark it. Also the basic contact information. So if you get the grant, we got to figure out a way to contact you. So definitely put this in, your first and last name, phone number, email address, your mailing address as well. And also always put a secondary contact in there as well, like a producer or assistant producer or something like that. Because say if like you get the grant or whatever, we need some information. Say if you're on a film shoot and you can't really get to us in a good time, we can reach out to your secondary contact to keep everything flowing, So I always try to put a secondary contact if you have it. And that information will go here, put their name, their number, and email to that. And then also the below criteria, and check them off, check all that apply. Are you 18 years or older? Do you have a social security number, a federal tax ID number? Are you a resident of one of the southern states listed? And this kind of goes back to you may have a special situation. We kind of look at it where, say, like you grew up in the South, right? You grew up in North Carolina, grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina your whole life, and then you went to college and you still live in New York. You're pretty much still considered Southern. So if you have a situation that's similar, reach out to me. My email is in the chat box. Email me, and we can talk a little bit more about the situation, about your project, to see if you qualify or not. Cool, cool. Well, before I go on to the next thing, let me answer some questions. Let me see. We got some questions here. Let me see here. All right, we got, how do you know the collaborator has extensive experience? It's pretty much that collaborator, you pretty much put that yourself. So if your collaborator, if whoever you're working with, you're looking at their resume and everything. If their resume, like we said on here, experience level is, hold on. So first time, this is your very first film. Emerging is 2 to 3 completed projects. Experience is really 5 or more projects completed. And so you kind of base it off of that. Not sure how to handle the experience question. I have 30 plus years in video production, cool, 10 years in network. Yeah, your experience. How do you find doc producers to work with? Well, Althea, email me, Althea, and we can chat about that. But there's all type of places. We have a cool network of folks. IDA, you got Doc NYC that do webinars and stuff like that. But email me, Althea. We can talk about it. Let me see here. Right. Some of these questions I'm actually going to answer during the thing. So we'll go ahead and keep rolling. A second here. Cool, cool. Right. All right. After you pretty much do all the basic information, name, contact info, you're going to go to the next step, which is your log line. Log lines are very important. I'm always looking at log lines, even for my own projects. A log line is pretty much a brief summary of the project, that capture the most important things, the setting, the participants, the conflict, what I'm saying? And it's usually like 2 to 3 sentences max. And you can always find log lines like on IMDb. You can just look up a film and it usually will have a log line. Usually it's like a 1 to 3 sentence type of brief summary about what your project is about, what this documentary project is about. You know what I'm saying? And so you can, look up different ones. I'm always on IMDb all the time, looking up different log lines. You can also look up log line, just type in like one of your favorite films or one of your favorite documentaries or narrative, and just type up the name of that film and the log line, and it'll come up, in a Google search, and you can kind of see, okay, this is how they describe this film. And you really want that. That's really your hook, is the log line, something straight, quick to the point. It's going to be hard hitting and capture the attention of that reader. Topic summary. Your topic summary is pretty straightforward. It's pretty much giving a background summary on the topic of the documentary. And so the documentary that I'm wrapping up now is a martial arts documentary, and about an African-American martial artist, one of the first Black karate champions ever in the United States. And so, the topic summary for that, we give a lot of historical context of the connection with African Americans in martial arts and things like that, taking it back to when African American soldiers in World War II went to Okinawa and these other places and how they learned martial arts over there. And then when they came back from World War II, they started teaching this in their community. And so we kind of touch it with that. Also talk about the Black Power movement, how the Black Panthers and other organizations like that would instill martial arts, for self-discipline, self-control, self-defense, all those good things. And then talked about, the African American experience in sports and all of that from the Jim Crow era all up until today. And so that's where you want to kind of, with this part, the topic summary is really, explain that relevant cultural, historical, political, or social context for the film, and give it the backstory so we can see really the backstory of the subject matter and what it's all about. The story concept summary, this is pretty much kind of like your synopsis. This is really where you kind of go a little bit more. The topic summary is just background info about that certain subject, but this will give you the overall, you want to give a full overview of the story. Introduce the main characters, certain plot points, describe the story structure, the narrative arc. This is where they will go. You know what I'm saying? How will the story be constructed? How will it be put together? This is where you might want to approach it where you kind of, give us a glimpse of the opening scene, for example. I know when I got a grant from a martial arts project, I actually did that. I kind of started this part off with like the opening scene of when you see Grandmaster Moore at his annual karate seminar in Lumberton and how he gets out the car and, his body has been broken down for years of martial arts and competing and everything like that. He gets inside, everyone is eager to see him. So we kind of show you, give you a example of a scene, of the opening scene, to try to draw the reader in. That's what you want to do with these applications, is really draw the reader in so they can imagine what this thing is going to look like on screen. Now, it might not even happen, but you want to show like, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. This is what we want to do. If we get the money, we can do this. That's what you really want to do. So you want to be very descriptive so the reader can see what you're talking about and visualize your film on the paper. The artistic approach. This is another important one, the artistic approach. With that, this is where you really want to describe the creative vision. So pretty much everything about a film, like what type of style are you going to use? Is this going to be your standard talking head type of documentary, or is it going to be an observational cinema verite style? Will it be a mixture of both? What type of music are you going to use for the score? And why? Also, how will you use B-roll? Are you going to use reenactments? How are you going to use animation, motion graphics? How will you be using those throughout? How is that going to enhance the story and the storytelling, of this? So this is where you can get creative with it, of how you're going to approach it artistic wise. Also use examples of certain films that you might get an inspiration from, like with my martial arts documentary. It was a couple of films. And they really weren't documentaries. They were more narrative than anything of the visual tone that we were looking for. So Mickey Rourke's The Wrestler was heavy influence on the creative and artistic style and approach we wanted to tackle with Grandmaster, that project. And then also Red Belt as well. That's a martial arts drama. And so the use of sound and the score is something that we wanted to do very similar with the Grandmaster project. So you can also throw examples of certain films that you can throw in there that kind of just give the reader more of a visual, and so they can say, okay, I see what you're saying. And I'm gonna stop in a few minutes and take some questions. I'm gonna go in the Q&A box after we get down here, after I do connection and accountability. I'll take a break, answer some questions, and then go back into it. Connection and access, like I was telling you at the beginning of the session, that we really look at this a lot, the connection to the story. What is your connection to the story? Are you connected to the participants? Are you connected to that community? Did you grow up in that town, or where the story is taking place? Do you have a connection with the archival material? Did you collect a lot of this stuff, over the years and stuff like that? Your access as well. Do you have access to the characters? Do you have access to that community? Do you have access to the archival material if your film, is using that stuff? Also, why are you the best filmmaker or filmmaking team to tell this story? And this is your opportunity to explain that right here. And so we look at that a lot. We look at, why are you the best team to do this? And what's your connection? And also, what type of access do you have? Because you have to have all those things to really tell these stories and to do these stories justice as well. And so this is where you kind of tell that in here. Accountability is optional. This is optional. Definitely, even though it's optional, I would still fill it in because every application is going to be different. Some people don't have this as optional, but you want to think about it. You want to think about being accountable. When telling these stories, we're inside someone's life in a sense. And, we want to make sure that we're treating that community and that participant with care as well. You know what I'm saying? Even though they've given us permission to do this, we still need to have some type of accountability. And so with this one, pretty much kind of describe your relationship, with the participant. It's kind of going a little bit deeper with this, a little bit deeper than the connection and access. So it's just taking it a little step further, describe your relationship with those participants and that community that's being filmed. What's your process of accountability? You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you transparent? Are you kind of, letting the participants trying to check out some of the footage and offer their critiques? Do you have some advisors offering feedback and critiques of some of the footage or the storylines and stuff like that? All those things. And also, are you doing it throughout the whole process as well? And so this is where you would kind of put that information in. And like I said, it's optional, but I would still do it. Just gives you good practice and gives you things to think about as well. Power and positionality. After this one, I'll go ahead and take a quick stop. Power and positionality is another one that's optional, and it goes a little step further. What is your power and positionality in relation to the story and those featured in it? What unique lens, perspective, insights, or bias do you bring to the story? Like in regards to your values, your interests, your worldview, motivations. So it gives you something to think about. When they came up with these questions, when was it? I think it was a couple of years ago, these additional questions. These are things that you definitely want to start thinking about. To me, it definitely helps you become a better filmmaker. It helps you just see a lot of things through the eyes of the participant as well, things that we sometimes don't think about. But again, it's optional. I would still do it because it gives you good practice. Everyone's not going to have the optional option. And so these are things you just still want to think about, as you're doing these applications. Let me stop and do a couple of questions real quick. In the Q&A. Also put your questions in the Q&A box. Let me see. The applicant is a producer from Alabama. Director is Prime. Who should be answering questions? Gretchen. Let me see. The producer Gretchen, who's from Alabama. They should apply. And also, let me see. Should answer. They should apply, but the director, you can actually put the director's experience in that box. And you guys can just collab on the application as well, but just one person can submit the application. But all you guys can work on it together as a team. But just one person can submit. See here, anonymous. Do these grants only apply to films about topics in the South, or is the main priority that the filmmakers are from the South? It's pretty much both. The filmmaker has to be from the South or have a strong connection to the South. And also the subject has to be in the South as well. Angela Harvey, what are some common mistakes, missteps that applicants make Like I was saying earlier, the connection and access to the story is key. Marketing, distribution strategy, fundraising strategy, um, work sample, those type of things. But we're still going through. Thank you. What other grants would you recommend applicants that would be competitive for this grant? We have a resource page on our site, and I'll share that in the chat. There's so many grants out there. Um, there's so many grants out there. It's hard to name all of them. IDA has a grant. ITBS has an open call all the time. Firelight has one. Also, check within your local community. Whatever city you're in or county you're in, a lot of times they have an arts council that has grants and opportunities. And a lot of times, no one comes to them with a film grant, a film opportunity, or an opportunity to do a documentary and ask for a grant. So, your local arts councils, your state arts councils, those are ones you should definitely hit up because you're right there connected with them locally. And then also you have your national ones, like we have like our regional grant that we have. IPS has a cool open call. You just have to Google search, and we have a section on our website that I'll share in the chat box as well. Second. Do a couple more of these, then we'll hop back on to the application. If we're awarded this grant, who would be eligible to apply for any other grants through larger foundation sponsors this grant? Yeah, if you're awarded our grant, you can still apply to other grants that are out there. You know what I'm saying? So just because you get our grant doesn't hinder you from applying to other grants that are out there. See right here, the proposal, but I'm answering the posed question if I were the filmmaker or on the production team. Ali, I would, you want to collaborate with that production team if you're the grant writer of the proposal. So definitely get that information from the filmmaking team. You guys should definitely work on this together, and then you can be the submitter of it. In the emerging filmmaker category says that someone who's completed 2 or 3 projects. Those supposed to be feature film projects. Yeah, shorts. Shorts count. It could be features, it could be shorts, it can be series. Because we do grant short films as well. So we include it all. Shorts, features, series as well. Which member of the team would you recommend fills out and submits the application? It could be whoever. It can be the director. It can be the producer. You guys can collab on this grant together, but only one person can submit. Do you consider emerging someone who has worked on others' projects and this is my first of my own? Yeah, it depends on what role. If you were a producer on some other projects, you can be emerging. But email me, we can talk about it. See, do you offer various grants or just production? At the moment, Felicia, we just have production grants at the moment. We just have production grants at the moment. But we try to promote other grant opportunities out there. We have a lot of partners out there that do, like Catapult, for example. They do research and development grants. You have other people like Working Films. They do a grant for like impact, and stuff like that. You're trying to do screenings and community engagement screenings. They have a grant for that. Other people have post-production grants. And so we try to share those things in our monthly newsletter, also on our social media channels as well. So definitely follow us on social media. We're always posting all type of grant opportunities, whether it's research and development, other production grants, post-production, etc. Do you fund films in post-production? No, we do not fund films in post-production. This is only for production at the moment. All right, we answered that one. All right, I'm gonna come back to the questions in a little bit. I'm gonna go through some more of this application. Let me get my screen back going. Right. All right. Community care and safety. This is another one. And on our website, we actually have a community care and safety workbook that kind of explains this a little bit more. But again, this is optional. This is an optional one, but I still would try to, fill it out. What are the guiding values or ethics of your filmmaking practice of care? If relevant, please reflect on any known safety and security concerns throughout the life cycle of your project, from development through distribution. Tell us how you plan to or have been mitigating any negative impacts or harm on the film's participants, communities, and the filmmaking team. This is one you definitely want to think about. Like I said, on our website, on the grants page on our website, we have an actual workbook, kind of breaks all this down of how to think about it and how to approach it and how to, actually come up with your answer as well. But when I think about this for my own project, I think about, Grandmaster Moore. He's an older gentleman. He's in his mid 80s. Also, he came up in a very controversial time as well in martial arts. And so, we were talking a lot about his life and everything. And so I have to make sure that, okay, will this do him any harm? You know what I'm saying? Will any harm possibly come from him? Because I know with certain projects, it could be someone, say if it's a true crime documentary, I'm actually exploring a true crime project right now. And I'm really thinking about this, like, is this safe to do, for the participant, hell, even myself, you know what I'm saying? So these are some of the things you want to think about, but I'm gonna put the link to that workbook in the chat as well. Once I get off the screen, I'll put it in there. But it's on our grants page under the resource thing right on the right-hand side to download that and check that out. Creative control. Who has control of this project? Who has control and ownership? And this can be just a 1 to 2 sentence max. Just stating who has creative control of the project. You just put it right here. Doesn't have to be a long page, just 1 to 2 sentence max. Also, this is a good one, filmmaker statement. Pretty much this has to be completed by the director or the producer. Really explain who you are as a filmmaker. Also, and how is this project expanding or evolving your creative practice? What does success look like for you as an artist? And also, what are the creative, professional, and holistic barriers and challenges that you're facing as well? And so we want to hear that. Being in the South is tough. A lot of times we don't have those opportunities that bigger cities have. But what are some of those things? Because these are things that we try to let our funders know in regards to getting more funding and more resources to bring to you guys. So we want to know, about you as a filmmaker. And then also, what are some of those barriers that you're facing, especially being in the South? Project stage and timeline. This is pretty much where you want to kind of put a current status of your project, and kind of outline, the different phases. So show us where research and development has happened, that timeline, whether it was from March 2023 to January 2024. And also outline each phase of production, whether that's research and development, pre-production, production, and anticipated post-production and release as well. The thing is, this stuff will probably change based off if you get funding or things happen. Hell, COVID happened and messed up everybody's schedule. Things happen, life happens. So you don't have to worry about sticking to it. We just need to see that you have a plan, a timeline in place. And don't worry if it changes or not. Everyone's timeline changes, especially if you're doing this stuff independently. Trust me, I know I've had like 20 different timelines and project stage, timeline things for my grant. So don't worry about if it changes. Whatever you have planned, lay that out in here. Also, COVID-19 is still real. People are still dealing with it as well. Actually, I have COVID at the moment, but I'm glad this is, and that's why I'm confining myself in my office for the next couple of days. Luckily I'm on Zoom with you guys. So COVID is still a real thing out here during this. So we want you to kind of talk about that. How are you still, how has COVID impacted your work? And what are some things you're doing, to still move forward in completing your project? You know what I'm saying? Or are you kind of, requiring your crew to wear masks? Do you have hand sanitizing stations, while you're filming? Are you kind of getting people to test, before you film? Those are some of the things we want to kind of see. You know what I'm saying? How are you kind of thinking about COVID still? It's still a thing. It's not as big as it was, but it's still a thing. And how are you taking those steps to make sure that your subjects are safe, your crew is safe, and you as a filmmaker is safe as well. I'm gonna do these next three, and then I'm gonna take a pause to answer a few more questions so we keep this thing rolling. Or I'm just gonna go through the whole thing, and then we just do all the questions. We'll do it like that. Accessibility. This is another big one that you really should think about, accessibility, and it's more for it could be during production and after you're finished. For example, I'll give you a prime example right here. Grandmaster Moore, the subject of my documentary, Grandmaster, he's in a wheelchair. And so I didn't think about this while filming. I was like, man, if we have to do certain things, I need to make sure that, say, if we go take him to a spot to do some filming, because we do a lot of filming at his house. He has the wheelchair ramp outside in case we need to do something outside, and he has everything he needs there. But what if I need to take him to another place? Like, say, if it's a karate tournament going at a different venue, I got to make sure that venue is accessible for him. He's a part of this story. Also, who else on my crew might need some accessibility things? You know what I'm saying? So this is where you want to kind of put that at. Does your subject, are you thinking about like the subjects in your film? Do they have some accessibility issues that you might need to address? So I have to think about that now, even with Grandmaster Moore, even when we finish the film, with certain screening venues. I'm starting to look at that now. Are they accessible, wheelchair accessibility? Also, for people that are deaf, blind, disabled, what are some things that that venue has that those folks can use for this film to be accessible for them as well. And so that's pretty much what you want to think about. Also, audio descriptions, captions, all those things. You know what I'm saying? You really want to make, even with my films now, even my older films, I have the captions embedded in the film. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to look at captions, but I'm trying to be accessible for everyone. And so now I do all my screenings like that, even my work in progress stuff that I do. I have the captions embedded in there, so folks ain't got to worry about that. They got the captions, we all good. So those are some of the things you want to put in here, things that you're thinking about doing during production if you have crew or subjects that need that accessibility help, or even after the film when you're ready to start screening and doing engagement with the film. Think about how you want to make this film accessible, and so other folks can really see it and enjoy it and engage with it. Audience consideration. This is another key one we look at too, because you're just not making the film just for you. You making it because you're trying to reach and engage a certain audience. And this is where you put that at. And we want you to be specific as possible. You know what I'm saying? We just don't want you to put, like middle-aged African Americans. We really want you to target it and really break it down, age group, all of that. You know what I'm saying? Do you know your audience? What type of audience? Like for me personally, my audience, when I fill out these, the type of films that I do are really about the African American experience, and history and culture. So my target audience is really the 18 to 40-year-old African American. You know what I'm saying? That loves history and loves culture, martial arts and all that type of cool stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like my audience. And also, you want to talk about how do you plan to reach that target audience as well? Are you going to do like social media ads? Are you going to do, create an email list? Also, all you guys should do this. All you guys should definitely start collecting emails, whether you use MailChimp, MadMeMe, Constant Contact, build up an email list. So any event that you do, any networking thing that you do and collecting emails, definitely do that. And so that's how you're definitely going to reach some of this audience is through, email blast, through social media, doing rough cut screenings, all that stuff. Just talk about the ways you want to reach your target audience all in here. Intended impact. This is another important one. Like I said, we're just not making the film just to make it. We're trying to make a film to make some type of impact out here in the community, in the society as a whole. You know what I'm saying? I know with the impact that I tried to make with my first film, Wilmington on Fire, a lot of people probably have seen it. The impact that we tried to make with that really was to, one, educate people around the 1898 massacre, also to use this film as a push to really get the educational system in North Carolina to start implementing this in their curriculum. We really wanted schools to start teaching this history. One, we wanted to get teachers educated on the history first, and then out of that, have them start implementing this in the school curriculum to teach this type of history. And it took us a while, but we're finally getting teachers to implement it. I was just a part of a series, an institute on the 1898 massacre. I participated in it, where we invited all these educators from around the country to learn about the 1898 massacre and teach them how to teach it and put together curriculums. And so it's been 10 years in the making, but it finally happened. So that was our impact, and it took a while to get there, but we got there. And I want to do something similar with the Grand Master Project, just to really help us as a society to start implementing some of the things around what martial arts can do, health wise, everything. And so that's one of our next impact goals that we want to have. And so what are yours? What do you want to have? What type of impact are you trying to have with your project? You know what I'm saying? It could be something simple, man. Like you just, it depends on what your subject is about. My subject, I just told you what mine was about. Yours could be something totally different, but what type of impact that you want to have? And it doesn't have to be grand scale. It can just be, hey, I just want to impact my block or the community where I'm in my town or city. Or you might want to do a statewide thing or a national thing. It doesn't have to, nothing is too big or too small. Impact is impact. And we want to really know the type of impact you want to make with your film right here. This is another good one, distribution and marketing. How are you going to distribute this? What's your plan? So I know a lot of people want to start off, hey, I'm going to submit this to Sundance, or I'm going to submit this to Tribeca and have a big screening at, Tribeca or South by Sundance. 9 times out of 10, that might not happen, but you really want to be specific. If you want that to happen, possibly still put that down, but also be specific with certain film festivals. So say if, for example, the type of docs we do are around the African-American experience. So the festivals I target are those type of festivals, like Pan-African Film Festival. We got Black Star coming up this week. North Carolina Black Film Festival that's here in North Carolina. You got Hayti, so many. So those that I list. So if you're going to list film festivals, be strategic in when you list them. So if your film is around the African American experience, list some of those festivals and why. Like the North Carolina Black Film Festival. One, my wife runs it, so I'm automatically in there. I'm just playing. But, that does help. My wife runs that one. But also you got Cucaloris Film Festival that's here in Wilmington. I would list them, especially with Wilmington on Fire 2 coming out and Grand Master, because both of those films are set in the Wilmington area. And Cucaloris really loves supporting local films that are made locally as well. Now, your film does have to be good, at least decent, to get in to a lot of these festivals. But you see how I'm being strategic. I'm telling you why I'm applying to these festivals and how I probably will get in as well. And so list festival, if you're going to list some festivals, be strategic, list specific ones and why are you listing them as well. Like with Cucaloris, for example, if you're a minority filmmaker, they they have waivers. Like if you're a female filmmaker, if you're a BIPOC filmmaker, they have waivers for those type of filmmakers. So a lot of those festivals have those type of things, and it's like, you know what, I'm gonna apply because they want to encourage more minorities to apply to those. And then also with distribution, What type of distribution are you thinking about doing? Do you want to get a sales agent? What distributors are you interested in trying to do a deal with, and why? Like certain distributors, they might focus just on documentaries. You know what I'm saying? Like, or broadcasters. What broadcasters are you thinking about? We got Real South out here. You got PBS. You got other public broadcasting entities. Black Public Media. You got several, or you might be like me, an indie guy, just want to do the DIY indie route. You got like Film Hub, you got Indie Rights, independent film aggregators that you can just go right through them and get on some of these streamers. So really it's about your plan. And really what we want to see is, have you thought about it thoroughly? And that's why, you don't want to just be vague about it. Be very, very transparent, and be very thorough, in listing, this thing. Key personnel, almost done as well, almost done. As soon as I'm done with this, I'll get on and answer the folks' questions. Key creative personnel, this is another key one. Like I said, for first timers, don't be scared, don't be scared. Definitely collaborate with other people. I remember when I did my first film, Wilmington on Fire, I didn't know what I was doing. It was my first documentary, but I was able to get some folks that had experience. So I reached out to my man, Pete Chapman. He's like a Hollywood, big time Hollywood TV director now. But at the time, he was teaching film at NYU. I was a huge fan of his. He did two excellent films, one called Premium that stars Zoe Saldana and Hill Harper. He did an excellent documentary called 761st on the 761st Black Tank Battalion in World War II. So I was a huge fan. I reached out. I said, Pete, man, I'm a huge fan of yours. I wanted to see if you wanted to be an executive producer of my documentary, Wilmington on Fire. I'm a first-time filmmaker, and I would love to just get your expertise and have you attached to this thing and really just kind of godfather the project. I'm new to this. There's a lot of things I don't know. And a week later, he hit me back. He said, man, I'm down to be a part of this and to kind of help you out. And so, everyone's schedule is different. At the time, his schedule was open. If I reach out to him now, he wouldn't be able to do it because he's so busy. But reach out to folks that you look up to and you admire, or it could be people in your own network that have experience in doing docs, and said, hey, let me take you out for coffee, or let's hop on Zoom. I want to talk to you about a possible opportunity. I would love for you to be a part of this project. I don't have a lot of experience, but I think, I really want to tell the story. I'm passionate. I really want to do this and do it well. And I think someone like yourself with the expertise and your experience can just help us take this to the next level. So if you don't have a lot of experience, bring some folks in. Folks, that's the thing I love about living in the South. We love to collaborate. We love to help each other out. And we just love doing cool stuff and being part of cool projects. I know I'm the same way. I don't have as much time as I used to, but from time to time, I'll try to hop on a project and advise and EP from time to time. But this is where you put your key personnel at. You want to put the director, if you got a producer, cinematographer and editor. I would do it like that. And also any advisors, any key people like advisors or potential executive producers. You want to kind of put a brief bio as well with those. Fundraising. This is another one that we look at heavily. What's your fundraising plan? Describe the overall strategy. And you should really list several things. We know for sure grants. I think grants are a big part of our strategy as independent filmmakers. But if you are going to list those grants, be specific. Tell us which ones. Obviously us, so the doc fund should be on there. But are you looking at Sundance, their documentary grant program? We just had them in our convening as well. Working Films, some of their stuff they have out there for folks, ITVS, or like I was telling you earlier, your local, your city and county arts councils, and also your state art councils as well. A lot of times those are untapped funds. A lot of times people think art council, they think about painting, art, or pottery. But a lot of times you'd be surprised, they will fund and support a film project because a lot of times people don't come to them with a film idea. And so think about your local and state arts councils as well, part of your fundraising strategy, because sometimes they have grant opportunities available, and also they have discretionary funding that they have to give away. And all you have to do is ask and talk about that process as well, and just keep them informed of what you're doing. You'll be surprised with the outcome a lot of times. So definitely put those things as a part of your fundraising strategy if you're doing the grant side of things. Also, philanthropy. Do you have any specific donors that want to specifically donate to your project? Like when we had Wilmington on Fire 2, I had several celebrities that wanted to contribute, to the project, for like a tax write-off or whatever. Like if you have a fiscal sponsor, we do fiscal sponsorship. But if you have a fiscal sponsor, that's always a bonus for that donor as well to donate directly to your project. Crowdfunding is another thing you should definitely think about putting on here. Are you going to launch a crowdfunding campaign? Which crowdfunding platform? Me personally, I love Seed and Spark. I'm always a champion of what they're doing over there. I've collaborated with them several times on some successful campaigns, and they really want you to succeed. They really break down and analyze your campaign. So think about crowdfunding. If you ever want to talk about crowdfunding, email me and we can set up time to chat about that. But think about that as well. Also, corporations. Corporations have sometimes money, budget set aside. I think they call it like corporate responsibility. Their initiatives where they have to give out certain amounts of money for certain things, and sometimes your project can align with what they're trying to do and the impact. I know I was talking to a couple of corporations, even for my projects, and they said, Chris, we can't fund the production side, but when you're done, we can definitely fund the impact campaign side of things, because the type of things we like to fund, we want to fund things that create community conversation and dialogue. And your film really is going to do that. Now you have some corporations, they might want to fund, give you some funding for the completion of it. In return, that you kind of do a screening or a couple of screenings for their company and those type of things. But those are things you negotiate. So those are some of the things you want to think about when you're developing your fundraising strategy. Just don't limit it to grants. Think about the overall strategy of how you can raise money for this. And also, if you got a rich relative as well, that always helps. Um, Funding to date, you kind of want to go by this example right here of how you want to lay it out. So pretty much it's just laying it out like in this example. Like I was saying, if you already done a crowdfunding campaign, say if you raise, hey Chris, I raised 15 grand for my Seed and Spark campaign earlier this year, you'll put that there. Or if you've got one that's going to happen in the next few months, you kind of put that up here, and we're going to try to raise, our goal is 20,000. We're going to launch this thing in October. You kind of put that up there. If you already received a grant, you can kind of put the name of that grant, the amount, if it's secured or not. If it's in progress, meaning that you just applied to it and you're waiting, you kind of put that up here, like in progress, or you've applied or whatever like that. And so you want to list all of those funding, whether you secured them or you've applied for them. Put that in this section. And the example of how to lay it out is right below. Right here is where you attach your budget. We actually have an example of a budget on the Southern Dock Fund website. On the grants page, we have an example of a budget, and it can be a CSV, a DOC, like a doc file, PDF, or Excel spreadsheet. You just upload it here. But I'll put that link in the chat after I get off of this screen share, where you can find that example template of a budget. And we also have a video on there as well, because like I said, we're going to try to help you as much as we can, without doing the whole thing for you, of course. But on that grant page, we have a sample budget. We also have a video of how to put a budget together as well. And we also have that handbook on community care and safety. We also have an example of an application, an application that won one of our grants a few years ago as well. So we have all of that on there. So we're going to help you out as much as we can, because we want you to succeed. And not only, to get our grant, but like I said, you can take this application and apply it to other grants as well. So we want you to be as successful as possible with this thing. Grant impact. This is another one we look at. Be very specific. Be very specific. If you got this grant from us, describe how any of the granted funds would be spent and how the funds would help you move forward with your project. Be very specific. Visual samples. This is always when we look at, so our we have independent reviewers that review our grants once they're submitted. Um, we encourage you, so if you have any prior work, so if you're the producer that's applying and you're just a producer, get the director of the project, get one of their prior works, and it doesn't have to be documentary. We've had people that have done narrative their whole lives, and they submit that. Submit that. If you have any prior work as a director, whether it's narrative or documentary, feature, series, or short, submit that. But what we really look at is the current sample, and that's why this is in production because you have to have something shot and to show. So the current sample or rough cut, our reviewers are going to pretty much look at up to 5 minutes. So what you really have to do with this part is give us something that's 5 to 10 minutes max. You can submit something that's longer, but they're not required to look at that past like 5 to 10 minutes. They're gonna, we kind of tell them, hey, at least 5 minutes to review. Sometimes myself, I like to look at the whole thing. If you got 30 minutes, I'll watch it. But everyone's different. So we say 5 to 10 minutes. Give us your strongest sample in 5 to 10 minutes max. And if you don't have like a complete sample, give us a strong 5 minute scene, to really kind of showcase what the story is about, the themes, the elements, all of that stuff. And we know it's not going to be the best. We know it's going to be in rough form. The coloring isn't going to be there, the sound mix isn't going to be there, but we know that. We want to see, is there a story there? And you can really show that in a good 5 to 10 minutes, without all the bells and whistles. You know what I'm saying? And so that's where you kind of want to put that. You'll put that link in here. And also any Vimeo links, any YouTube links that's private, make sure we can see them, and make sure if it's a password, make sure we have the password, because, we don't want to try to track you down. Leave it open, leave the passwords and the links open, till like November, you know what I'm saying? They give us enough time to analyze and check out everything. And also, say if you have like a 30-minute cut or something, and you can also write in there the time codes, the 5 to 10 minute time codes that you want us to watch as well. Almost finished with the application. And then I'll go in these questions real quick. Have you received support from SDF in the past? Have you been fiscally sponsored by us? Did you receive one of these grants in the past, or have you never received any funding or anything from SDF? If you receive support from us, kind of explain a little bit the involvement. How did you learn about SDF filmmaking grants? We definitely want you to fill out this bottom part, for our surveys, because this is how we continue to be able to provide this type of funding for you. We want to keep getting funding and grow it even more. So definitely fill out this bottom part for us, because this helps us out a lot. How did you learn about SDF filmmaking grants? What organizations in your community do you recognize as serving independent artists? This is important for us because we want to keep reaching across the South. So say if you're in Florida, I'm in North Carolina, I might not know what's going on in your area in Alabama or Florida or Louisiana. And it could be some cool organizations that's doing some real cool stuff. And we would maybe want to partner with them on some things, or come down or do a webinar or do a screening or partner with them in some capacity. And the only way we'll know that is through you guys, because you guys are right there in these communities that we might not know about, but we want to know about them. And if they're doing some cool stuff, we're always down to collaborate and partner and really do more in y'all's community. Demographic stuff, like I said, it's optional, but it definitely helps us when we're reporting for new grant opportunities and stuff like that. So it's only just a second to check off some of this stuff. It definitely helps us out. So if you have the time to do that after the application, just fill out that stuff quickly for us. Then after it's all done, you just click submit, and there you go. Another thing I would say is definitely take your time with this. Don't wait till the last minute though, because we are going to stop August 16th. 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So you got to get your application in by then. We're not going to extend it. So you got to get your application in by August 16th, midnight. I always tell people to kind of copy and paste these questions in like a Google document and fill them in. And then once you're done with all of them, just copy and paste in here when you're ready to fully submit. And yeah, let me go ahead and see here. Oh yeah, I see Allie, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing the quarantine now. Quarantine and doing the info session. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna answer some of these questions and I'll let you guys call it a day. Let me see here. If we have multiple projects, docu-series and community history shorts, some categories more competitive than others. Not really. No category is more competitive. It's all about story. It's all about story for us. So don't think that, should I do a short or should I do a docu-series, which is going to be competitive? No, it's all about the story for us. It's all about the story. So whichever one you think has the strongest story, that you really think that you can make and complete, that you have a good fundraising strategy for, you got a good team for, that's the one you should submit for. Does the full 10,000 grant need to go all towards production expenses? Can it fund post-production and or distribution expenses? No, it has to go to production. It has to go towards production. The 10,000 has to go towards production. Now, it can go towards, say, if you needed to, fund some reshoots or some stuff like that, or you needed to kind of maybe cut like another fundraising sample, you can do that as well. Is this grant intended to be submitted and be received by the filmmaker? We're partnering with the subject of the grant. And let me see if this grant intended to be submitted. Yes, the grant has to be submitted by either the producer or the director. But all you guys can collaborate on it because 9 times out of 10, they'll need to get some information from everyone. Is it possible to get feedback on prior applications to improve application this year? This is an anonymous person. Email me. If you did a grant last year, email me. And then we can set up a time to talk about it this week. But email me. Chris, I'm gonna put my email again in the chat just in case. All right. Another anonymous. See, hello, I'm a grant writer. I was wondering if there's any issue if I be a submitter. No, it's no issue at all if you're submitting. But I would have the director or the producer submit. You should write it, of course, but you'll be getting information from the producer and director, but I would have the director or the producer submit. Or they should just make you a producer, but I would have the director or the producer submit, but you can gather all the information. That's why I said you want to create you a Google Doc where you can compile all the information. And that way you can just share that with the director or producer and they can just plug and play, and submit. See, Sadie Wilkins. If I know that I'm using funds for old footage, can I include that or will consider that post item? Sadie Wilkins, email me so we can talk about that a little bit more. Hannah Miller. Do y'all fund secondary production with this grant? I am editing the rough cut of my film, and from that, planning pickup shoots as well as serious scenes, sound like they were in production and post-production too. Yes, so if you're doing like pickup shoots, you're shooting some stylized scenes. Yeah, you can definitely that's production. See. Let me see. For the context, it's a two-man team filming an art doc. I know we will need footage from the 80s. That's why I'm asking. Yeah, Sadie, email me. Let's talk about that a little bit more. I would love to talk to you on the phone about that. Let's see here. Hey, what's up, Tom? Tom Hansel. Can you talk a bit more about the line between research, development, and production? Are there specific posts you look for? Know if the project is moved. Pretty much how we look at it is, have you started filming? Have you started filming? And do you have at least 5 to 10 minutes, at least 5 minutes to show? Have you started filming um, the film yet? Pretty much. If you haven't started filming anything, you're pretty much still in that development phase because we need you to have started filming because you got to show at least 5 minutes of what you shot as a sample. See, Amelia Ray, is it discouraged to apply for both SDF Film Grant and fiscal sponsorship? No, you can apply to both. We're always fiscal sponsorship is always open. Also, some of our fiscal sponsored makers apply to the grant as well. So you can actually apply to both. If you aren't fiscally sponsored by anyone, definitely apply to us. We're always looking for projects to fiscally sponsor. That program is open year round. And if you want to apply to the grant, you can do both, actually. Let's see. All right. Althea Brown, how do you get into the school systems? That should be a whole webinar step by step. That's a good one. I may actually do that. I actually did a webinar back in the beginning of the year. I may do one next couple of months actually about when you finish your film, how do you do educational distribution? Or I may bring an educational distributor on here. We work with Good Docs. The lady that runs that, she was a part of our convening last year. And so I may bring her back, or I may do something about myself because I do a lot of educational stuff at the moment. We do stuff through K through 12, public libraries, and also college and universities. It's very lucrative. It's very lucrative doing licensing and also doing speaking engagements. So Althea, I'll definitely think about doing a webinar on that, and definitely hope you guys can come check that out. But that's something that we're definitely thinking about doing. Sadie, how do you list funding if it's personal savings? I think you just put dang, how do you do that? Let me see. Hold on. I think you just put personal funds. Hold on. I think it's on this. Hold on 1 second here. I think you put like producers cash for listing, your own funds that you put into it. I think it's called producers cash. I think that's how ITVS lists that. Or private, you could put like private investment as well. Right. Let me find my Zoom. I got like 500 tabs open. Hold on. All right, Paige. For the grants, if we applied for other grants in previous fiscal years and didn't receive them, should those still be listed? I would say list the grants you've applied to this year. List this year because you want to stay current and you want to look current as well. Because if you didn't get them last year, it is what it is. It didn't happen. But put the things that you've done so far this year. It just shows that you're staying current and you're still tagging at it and tagging along. Allie, if we turn in a draft early, do you or others have the time to review them for us? If so, I assume. No, we can't. We're not allowed to review early drafts and give feedback. We only offer feedback after the grant thing is over with. After it's all said and done, after we announce the winners, we'll send out a sign up thing about, hey, if you want feedback on your application, we can do that. We can't review an early draft and give you feedback. We just can't do that. But I would suggest, having other folks kind of read it and check it out. You know what I'm saying? Have maybe another filmmaker that isn't applying to the grant and just have them look at it. That's what I usually do. I get like one or two other film folks or folks that are in development and just to kind of look at it a little bit and give me some feedback before I submit the full thing. Jasmine, hi, I came into the webinar a few minutes after it started. Will this recording be shared? Yes, we're going to send this out. It will be shared. publicly on our social media, and we'll be sending like an email to you guys as well. We should have that up by tomorrow afternoon. So this webinar will be saved. It will also be on the film grant page on our website at the southern-documentary-fund.org. It will have the replay on there as well. So definitely share this with your teams, anybody that you know that's interested in applying to this grant. Let them know that this will be this is recorded, and we will be sharing this, and it will be on our website as well. When will you find out about the grant? You will find out in November. November is when we'll be making those final decisions. But we're going to keep people, updated throughout the process. If you made it to the next round and all that good stuff as well. I am directing a documentary short and planning to apply for this fund, but I just found out a different documentary short I'm DPing for is also planning to apply this grant. Yes. You can definitely apply to both for sure. Now, one will probably only win if it gets to that level, but you can definitely apply to both. To clarify, when will grant awardees be notified? In November. In November, we'll be awarding, notifying folks who win the final 5 in November. When will decision on award? Just answered that one. See here. Felicia, how many times a year do you offer this grant? We only offer it once a year. And this is around the time we usually open it up, around July, summertime every year. But we are working hard to getting other foundational support because we want to, do this more than once. We're thinking about doing like a production grant. We also fund and support audio documentaries. So we're looking into those opportunities as well. And so those are coming, when they can come. But for right now, we only offer this type of grant once a year. And usually we open it up every summer. The filmmaker is from Kansas and New York, but they have family, father from Virginia, who was the son of a slave person. The person who has the question about they have family from Virginia who was the son of an enslaved person, email me. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Email me. Okay, a couple more questions, then we're gonna call it a day. And also, if you have any other questions, I'm gonna put my email in here. Email me, and we can just hop on a call, or if it's something quick that I can send you an email, we can do that. Althea, I filmed the interviews, but the rest of the production is animation. Is that considered production? Yes. Right. Allie, do we need local and regional grants typically before national funder will invest? Nah, you don't need that before a national funder, but every little bit helps. I always tell people to look local first, because a lot of times those local grants aren't even being tapped into by filmmakers. And so, always start local first, because, every little bit helps. So, reach out to your local arts councils, your state arts council, to see what type of funding opportunities they may have. You know what I'm saying? Because you never know. You never know what they might can give you $5,000. It happened to me. Our local arts council gave me like $4,000 for one of my projects. So every little bit helps, and it's only going to help you. To me, I think starting local, where you can get some filming done and put together a nice work sample, a nice sizzle reel. It's only going to help you get more funding. And so definitely any local help that you can get, go for it. How many submissions do you typically receive? We receive 100 to 200. Let me see here. Cool. Well, that's it for questions. Like I said, I got my email in here for folks that I said to email me for like more in-depth conversation about your questions. Email me. We can hop on a call this week to knock those questions out. Again, thank you guys again for joining us today. I just want to thank you all for, spending your afternoon with me. Like I said, these grants are tough, but you can do it. You can do it. Like I said, I know how it is because I'm right there with you. I'm applying to a couple of grants now. You know what I'm saying? So, but um, definitely go back, check out this recording. We also have another one coming up. We have another one coming up on Wednesday, August 14th, 4 to 5. So Wednesday, let me go ahead and put that in the chat. So you can sign up for that if you want to check that one out as well. Thank you. I'm gonna try to feel better, but we're steady rolling. We're steady rolling. So I just put the next webinar, the second one, August 14th, 4 o'clock. So if you want to come back, if you got any more questions, because I know how it is. After this is over, like, oh man, I should have asked him this, or should have asked him that. You can always email me, or if you want to wait until the next webinar, you can do that too. But like I said, take your time with the application. Let me put the website as well. Hold on 1 second here. This has a lot of reference documents. I even use these for my own grants as well. Like I said, we try to make this thing as simple as possible for you guys. So check out these reference documents. We have a sample budget on there. We have a budget workshop recording on there. We have a sample application. We have past grant info sessions on there. We have a community care and safety handbook as well. So we have a ton of resources on here for you guys to develop and create a competitive application. And like I said, it's very competitive as well, but I know you guys will do fine. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you guys apply to this year's production grant. Again, my name is Chris Everett. Feel free to email me. Feel free to give me a call to discuss any questions that you have about the grant or just SDF in general. I'll see you guys on August 14th. Y'all have a good one.